Hello and welcome back to the DayLuna Human Design Podcast with your hosts, Dana and Shayna. Today is a projector pep talk, baby, and we fucking need it. Like, if anybody needs a pep talk, it's the projectors, because it's exhausting to be a projector in a generator world. It's exhausting to be a human right now. Maybe it's always been exhausting, but I feel like especially now, since we have so much information blasted at us all the time that we were literally not built to like receive and intake, it's just freaking exhausting. But then also add on to that you're a projector and you're constantly looking into everything and peering into everything and seeing everything and like thinking about everything. It's like, turn it off, bitch. It's time to receive. It's time to get a pep talk. It's time to see yourself a little bit more clearly, because you're so busy seeing everything else around you clearer and the people around you clearer, that we're here to do the same for you. So if you're a projector, this one's for you. If you love a projector or have projectors in your life, this one's also for you, because holy shit, what an incredible gift for you to know how to do a pep talk for them when they need it. If maybe they don't listen to this podcast, or maybe you can even just send it their way and just give them that sprinkle of love. So we see you, projectors. We are you. And we're going to do a pep talk for all the types. But we wanted to start off with projectors because
we know how much you needed it and how much we need it. And it's really something that is so beautiful about projectors is that you are literally the type that is here to give a pep talk to everyone else. So we wanted to start with giving a pep talk to you. It's so funny, in our last Palm Springs retreat where we were studying advanced mechanics of relationships and bonding, and this was training about the other people in your life and the relationships in your life, we had the most projectors we've ever had, like in the ratio of any retreat that we've ever had. And it's so funny. It was like the projectors were called in not for the one where they got to learn about success about themselves or their own healing. They were called in for the one that is supporting their relationships and the people around them and managing teams and families and businesses. And I just thought it was so laughably on point for projectors to be called into the one retreat that's focused on other people in your life and extending your wisdom and love and brilliance to the other people in your life. And that's such a perfect example of who projectors are. You know, when projectors are in their highest expression, obviously, you are this agent of change and of guidance for the people around you. Your aura is literally designed to see into the other. And what fascinates projectors more than anything else is, how does the world work? How do the people around me function? It's exciting for us. It's fulfilling for us. It makes us feel successful to be able to help other people thrive and become their truest self and be authentic. Now, the downside of all of that stuff that I'm talking about is feeling unseen yourself as a projector. And honestly, that's one of the biggest pain points that I feel like I have navigated in my life when I think about my family of origin and my trauma as a child and things like that. A lot of it comes back to feeling deeply unseen as a person who deeply sees others. So I'm excited to be doing this podcast, to be pepping us up, to be hyping us all up, and to see the projectors in this space, because this is a medicine that you give to everyone else and you deserve it so deeply.
Okay, so first things first that I want to say to all the projectors listening is that you see deeply. You see deeply into everything, into the world, into the people around you. And that is a lot. That requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of heart and intention and love and awareness and consciousness. It requires a lot. And not everyone else around you, probably 90% of the people around you, do not. They do not see as deeply as you do. And that's okay. Right? Allowing that to be okay is really hard, because people will never understand how deeply you see, because they're not seeing as deeply as you. Yeah. They're never going to understand how much that is for you, how much energy that takes, how all consuming it is, because they aren't seeing that in you because they're not a projector. And maybe they are. If they are a projector, great. If they
have a lot of projected channels.
But they might be a projector who doesn't know they're a projector. And we like to say maybe they're wearing the hat.
I was just going to say the hat.
And what we got to explain the hat. Like, what is the hat? And then now, like, all the people who aren't projectors who don't listen to this aren't going to know what the hat is. And we might not be able to reference it again. But what's the hat, Dana?
I was going to say that one of the remedies I use for this is putting on the hat myself. But the hat is like a veil of unconsciousness that you wear over your head that blocks you from needing to be completely aware of everything on this plane. And so there's a lot of people who live their life wearing the hat. They have this veil over their eyes and they are not seeing more deeply into the energy mechanics of anything. They're just moving through life, living presently. They're not questioning the status quo. They're not reading the deeper layer. They're not trying to see the unseen. They wear the veil, they wear the hat. And in some ways, that life can be like an ignorance is bliss situation. And so as a projector, you are not born with the hat. There is no hat for you to take off. You're born without the hat, just raw dog in life, seeing the deeper energetics of every single situation. And for me, sometimes I have to consciously, like, one of the boundaries that I put on. So this talking point that Shayna's bringing up, you see everything super deeply, and that's a lot. It's a lot, right? Sometimes I need to create a boundary around this and just like protect myself a little bit and put myself on timeout and take a vacation from seeing and reading into everything. And I actually consciously choose to put on the hat in that experience. Like, just an example, like, you know, I'm going to all of these like doctor's appointments and ultrasounds and stuff right now on my pregnancy journey. And when I go in, it's like for my pregnancy journey and my baby, and we're looking at all of these things about my life. But instead, I'm looking at the people who work there and I'm thinking, do they really like their job? And this girl is really young and she's coming into this job, but I can tell that she doesn't really want to be here. And she's in this stage like pre-Saturn return. And I create these whole life stories where I'm reading into the dynamics of the people who work at this clinic that I'm at for my experience. And then by the end of it, they end up asking me like, oh, what's your podcast? And oh, I want to know what my thing is. And here's my star sign. And I end up giving them advice. And the entire time that we're together, we talk about their lives. And I leave them with all of this like inspiration. And I think about for days, like the dynamics that they have in their work office and if they're truly on their aligned path or not. And Jared, my husband, is like, why do you do that? Like, not only why do you do that, you need to stop doing that. And for me, it's like, okay, I need to put on the hat. I need to create this boundary for myself where I'm going to just choose to stop overly thinking, overly analyzing in a space where I'm not truly recognized or invited. It's just sort of like this obsessive drive to dive into something and to overanalyze it. So when you feel like you have gone past your limit, and you're starting to feel like you're obsessing over something that has nothing to do with where you've been recognized or invited, one of the things that you can do to kind of cut the cord, cut that connection there and give yourself a break is to put on the hat and just allow yourself to move through that energy with presence. And as a projector, putting on the hat, for me, it feels almost like bad. Like, oh my gosh, is the world going to end? Is my world going to end if I'm not reading into and analyzing every little detail? But for me, it's just an energetic boundary to take back my own energy in that moment, to focus on myself, to allow my experience to be about me in that moment instead of the other people that I'm around and trying to guide them for free or analyze them for free or help them with their job when it's not actually aligned for me to do that.
Yeah. And I find myself doing that with close people in my life or with scenarios in my life. And that's the same phrase you probably heard us talk about before, like not my circus, not my monkeys. It kind of is the same as wearing the hat, but slightly different. So when you are obsessing over somebody else's problems in your life that have nothing to do with you, like your best friend being with a shitty boyfriend or, your coworker creating the same habits that they always do and like they're not going to get recognized in their job, or your mother-in-law and the issues that she's having, like, not your circus, not your monkeys, right? If you're expending that mental energy thinking about all those things, and this is why they do that thing, and this is why they do that thing, and if they could only break this pattern, then this would happen. And it feels really important in your life, like it's causing you stress because maybe it does impact your life, right? Like maybe your relationship with your friend isn't doing so great because they don't recognize you and you see how this could change, but you can't say it yet and whatever, right? You're just ruminating. It's like, okay, not my circus, not my monkeys. Let me come back to focusing on myself. So they're slightly different because wearing the hat is like, put the blinders on. Like, can you just be an NPC? Like
for a little bit, you need a break. You need a timeout.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that other people who are wearing the hat are NPCs. I'm just saying that they're not asking like, why am I alive? Like, what is life and death? What is love? Like, what is God? Is God real? Like, they're just like, this is what my family told me to do. They're new, old paradigm kind of vibes. Like, this is the tradition. This is how you do it. This is what women do. This is what men do. This is how we do it. Nobody likes their job. Just do the thing. Close your eyes. Get through life. Don't ask questions, right? That's the hat. And so, if you need to put yourself in timeout because you're doing that over like dumb shit and you're stressed, put on the hat. But if you're doing it over like people in your life that are personal to you, that feel important to you, but there's like, you're not invited, not your circus, not your monkeys. And both of these are just two tactics to help you bring your energy back onto yourself, to recognizing yourself, to staying in your own lane, to focusing on the things that light you up, that are fascinating to you. And that helps you get more recognition because you're recognizing yourself first. So I think that's the other thing that is huge to remember as a projector, that I think we all need this reminder, is that fascination piece. Like, what are you fascinated on right now, today? What's fascinating to you? And if you're not asking yourself that question actively, you're missing out on putting your greatest asset on the things that are actually important to you, because your greatest asset as a projector is your focus. You have a focus and penetrating aura. It's that focus. If you're giving it away to something that you don't actually want magnetism around, you're wasting it, right? You're draining that energy. Versus if you can give your greatest asset to things you want magnetism around, that you want recognition on, that you want invitations on, or success, your success theme, which we'll get into in a bit. That's really the work. And it does take effort to be like, okay, hold on. What is fascinating me today? Can I spend some energy putting my focus on that, diving into that? And I might not get an invitation tomorrow. I might not get an invitation in a month, but I am building magnetism around that thing every time that I consciously pull my focus back and pour it onto that, and feeding into that and analyzing that and breaking that apart and working around that thing. That's the work as a projector.
And I wanted to highlight that with this not my circus, not my monkeys boundary that you create. It's really interesting for a generator, for example, their boundary is about how much they're showing up to do things for other people, to work or to physically be present to do something. As a projector, your boundary is around not letting yourself ruminate on what other people should do. So it's not even a physical thing that other people can see. It's so internal. It's your obsession trying to orchestrate your family member who's not ready to make change. And that's when you really have to put that boundary in, because it's internal. You're the only one who knows that how much it's actually happening. And it's challenging because as a projector, your aura being focused and penetrating, it's like magnetically drawn into the other. And that's happening on a very energetic, mechanical level. And you have to actively kind of like pull your energy out of that person. Even if it was like, you're talking to your brother on the phone and now you're like obsessing over what he should do with his life and he's just not ready, right? So you're like pulling your energy out from that and actively choosing to put it on one of your fascinations. And I wanted to say that this is still my biggest practice when it comes to navigating my projector energy. Like, I feel like I've gotten really good over the years, especially owning our own business and having a little bit more agency to do so. I feel like I've gotten really good at resting and putting the brakes on and knowing when enough is enough and seeing when I'm overdoing it with my undefined sacral, that has actually become more easy for me. And the thing that's been harder is remembering to not worry about what my family members or my loved ones are doing and if they're ready to change or not, and to instead make the space and time to put my focused aura on my fascinations. Like, it feels like I have to be constantly reminding myself. It doesn't feel natural for me yet. But when I do it and I give myself that boundary and I say, not my circus, not my monkeys, and I actively put my energy onto something that is just like so yummy and delicious that my mind is turning, my wheels are turning, I instantly feel the most powerful shift out of any of the other energetic practices that I do. So definitely I feel like that this is the one that feels like the homework assignment for projectors, but it's such a gift to yourself if you can actively remember to do it. And it can feel impossible. Like if you're a parent or if you're working a 9-to-5 job still and you're trying to make space for this, you do have to work on the energy level piece first. And so it can feel impossible to have the space to put your focus on something that fascinates you. But the truth is, for, let's say, the 10 minutes that you're on your phone in the morning, you could be researching something that's fascinating instead of scrolling through social media. So those little places where you're putting your focus on your fascinations is how you start to take your power back and fill up your own cup as a projector instead of constantly giving your energy away and sort of leaking energy in places where you're not truly recognized or invited, or that person's not ready.
Yes. And the next thing I want to say is rest, bitch. Rest. Just rest. Like, in general, rest. And if you can just hear one mantra spoken over you as like a blessing from the ether of this podcast, rest, 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 bitch, rest. And that's obviously really difficult to do because we live in a generator world. And because we've been trying to survive in this world, not everybody in our life understands how much rest we need to actually thrive and be successful. And we are the ones who are reshaping and redefining and making all the tweaks happen so that way we can experience success and rest at the same time. But it's never been done before. So we're the ones that are doing it. And that's really hard for people to get on board with. It's hard for ourselves to get on board with. So the more that you can communicate that with the people in your life, the more that you can fight for it in your own life and really know that you're not sick. You're not like, there's not something wrong with you. There's not something that you need to go do to fix it. Like, you just need rest because you don't create the same amount of energy as other types. So you might be an energy projector. You still need rest. If you're a classic projector like me, you need even more rest. And it's hard because I feel a lot of guilt around resting. I guilt myself when I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that I have all these things that I need to do, but I just literally have nothing to give. And that's the biggest difference, right? A generator or man gen, if they're in love with something, they have energy to do it. It just kicks in and they can go all night with that thing. A projector, you can be absolutely in love with something and have no energy to work on it or do it. And then we get in our heads like, well, is this wrong for me? Did I make the wrong decision? Is this not like what I should be doing? And no, it's just you need rest. And rest is so hard because a lot of times, especially if you have kids or if you have other people depending on you in any way, it's not, you have to kind of rely on other people to be able to have the rest that you need. Delegating the tasks in your job that are draining you, or delegating the things at home, finding different ways of working and shifting things so that way you can have rest. And of course, you're going to go through seasons as a projector where rest feels a little bit more impossible than other seasons. And knowing that that's okay. It's not about being perfect, but it is knowing that that is the foundation that you need for everything else to thrive and have success in your life. And if that's not there, it's the hardest pill to swallow and it's the shittiest truth because it's the hardest thing to navigate around and actually make happen.
Yeah.
You're going to need rest. And for me as a classic projector, I was just telling my mother-in-law this, like I'm on the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to energy. Like even reflectors, they have a protective aura where they can come in and amplify everyone else around them and be like the most energized throughout the room and do all the things. And they have this aura that kind of protects them a little bit from other people draining their resources, if you will. Whereas a classic projector with no motors, I literally am like the lowest on the totem pole. Like sometimes I'm like, am I ill? Like, do I have disease? My husband and I have like a dark joke where we're like, one day we're going to find out that this whole time I had this illness and like everyone's going to be like, how was she doing it? Like, how was she doing all the things she did with that going on in her body? And that's fucked up and dark because people do have like illnesses and like I'm not making light of those things. But like a part of me is like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why do I need so much rest? And that's because we're so conditioned to believe that you only need like 6 to 8 hours a night. And it's just not my truth. It's never has been. And as much as I've tried to fit myself into that box and force myself to be something that I'm not, it always comes back to the fact that I need more rest than other people. People even ask me like, you're not a morning person, so do you stay up all night? And I'm like, no. They're like, oh, you don't.
I'm not
like,
a morning
when I go to
person
bed early,
and I'm not a night person.
Or a night person. I'm a sleep person. Like I'm genuinely a sleep person. And like every time they're like, oh, you're going to bed early. Like, are you a morning person? Nope. I'm going to sleep in. Well, if I could, like now I have a child, so much harder. But like if I could, I would sleep in till like 9 every day.
Oh yeah.
And I would go to bed at 10 every night. Like
same. I would go to bed at 10 and wake up at 10 if I was left to my own devices and take a nap.
Left completely alone in the world.
And I was going to say, so I'm an energy projector. I have a defined root and a defined solar plexus, and those two centers are connected for me with my emotional wave. So I am an energy projector, and it's really fascinating to see the differences between me and Shayna. I am a projector and need rest too, and need sleep too, and get overwhelmed and overrun, and my husband and I always talk about, like, for me, it's pretty easy to get so tired that I feel like I'm going to get sick. Like I feel like my throat is sore and I have an undefined spleen. If you have a defined spleen as a projector, you have a little bit more of a consistent access to like a healthy immune system. But as an energy projector still, if I've gone on like a trip and we've been driving a lot and doing a lot of stuff, and then I get home and I need to work the next morning, it's easy for me, even as an energy projector, to feel so tired that I don't know if I'm getting a cold or getting sick or if I'm just tired. And I just have to like go to bed immediately and get as much sleep as I can. And so my husband's a manifesting generator with a defined spleen, but every once in a while he runs himself down so low that he's like, am I getting sick or am I just tired? And he's like, do you know that feeling? I'm like, I live that feeling. I am constantly on the brink of like, am I sick or am I just tired? And I'm an energy projector, and I see the difference between Shayna and I, like, especially with my two motors that are defined, connected to each other, my solar plexus down to my root. Like yesterday, I was so tired and so exhausted, 8 months pregnant, like worked all day. But I wanted to go see the wildflowers before the sunset yesterday because there's wildflowers blooming in the desert right now. And I was able to muster up the spiritual energy coming from my emotional center to go out and see the wildflowers in their beauty. And it did give me so much life and so much joy and depth. And I was tired, but I had the energy for that, specifically coming from my defined centers. And Shayna, as a classic projector, would never. Like,
never. I'd be like, I'm spent. I could not even step out of the door.
Like, I'll Google the wildflowers. Like, I can't do that.
Or like, show me your pictures and your videos.
So that is a difference. That is a difference. And then,
so different.
Of course, if you are a mental projector and you have mental/environmental authority, really interesting. A lot of mental projectors, they are so open that they can take in actually like the most conditioning, and they can seem the most man-gen like, generator like of any projectors, but then they have this big crashing point that can be really dramatic that happens around their Uranus opposition if they don't correct that not self-conditioning. And it's so interesting. Out of all of the types of projectors I've met in my personal life with my friends, and I see that they're a projector, mental projectors are always the ones that don't resonate with being a projector at first. They don't resonate with human design. They're like, don't tell me who I am. I can do anything. I have enough energy for anything. And I'm like, okay, great. And it's just because they have so much openness in their bodies specifically that they can really identify with the conditioning of the generator world. And they can sort of like hold on to that because they're so mental for a longer time. So just kind of talking about like the different types of projectors, knowing that if you are a mental projector and you're like, honestly, I feel pretty good, just be careful because you can have a really big health crash that happens a little bit later on in life if you're not managing that.
Yeah, in your 40s. And it really, mental projectors are like badass CEO energy. And they just like get shit done and they handle shit, and they're like they're really smart. They're brilliant. And so that's where it can be confusing. Like, I'm optimizing this world. I'm like shifting and changing it, and it is coming from a mental place, and we've been in a mental world. So there can be so much conditioning that happens there. And so really weaving in rest and listening to your body in that way as a mental projector is one of the biggest medicines you can give yourself, but also it doesn't feel necessarily natural for mental projectors. And I also would say that I've observed that projectors that have a spleen to root connection also can feel like I've got energy. Like I work out all the time.
Those bitches work out. They teach workout. Yes. They're like,
they're all like workout instructors.
Yes, exactly. Or like a marathon runner.
Like, all of them.
Anyone like, that I know, because you know my husband's a rock climbing guide, and it's like 90% of rock climbers are man-gens, and then like 5% of them are generators, and then 5% of them are just anomalies. And so if anyone's a rock climber, I'm like, they're a man-gen. But if they were a projector, I would be shocked. And they would also be a splenic projector with the spleen defined to their root. And I'm like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That explains everything.
Yeah. And that's because they're meant to express energy through physical exercise and through moving their body. And that helps them feel connected more with their authority and with their instincts. And it's in that present moment that the spleen communicates to you, which is different from being your root connected to your solar plexus, which is like that emotional depth and spiritual awareness and the highs and the lows and riding your wave. And it's like moving your body can be an emotional experience for you that is different every single day and is nurtured in different ways based on where you are on your wave. Whereas for spleen to root connection, it's like present, quick, in the moment, clearing out my intuition. And that leads to like, let me go for a run. Let me do this workout. Let me go do this yoga thing. Like, it's so in the moment, spontaneous zing of energy versus like that more emotional, dreamy, depth kind of provoking, juicy, whatever, awareness energy. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have the spleen to root connection, that makes so much sense because I've never resonated with being a tired bitch, then that's great.
Or I've resonated with being a tired bitch. You still need rest. Or I've resonated with being a tired bitch, but I also need to move my body. And that's my spiritual medicine, which is beautiful too. And yeah, I wanted to say one more thing about, like, we've been really talking about the boundaries that you need to create for yourself as a projector, like how to come back to your own energy. What are those boundaries? And when I was talking about not my circus, not my monkeys, it's a very invisible internal boundary that you create. Like only you know if you've been obsessing over other people's lives when they're not ready and you're not invited. Now with rest and boundaries around rest, I just wanted to say that it's a little more difficult because it's external, meaning people in your life, like your partner or your family members, can see you resting. They can see when you are taking a break or laying horizontally. And it makes it a little bit harder to hold that boundary because you almost have to like fight for it or defend yourself. And I have noticed that in general, because of the old paradigm conditioning, a lot of sacral beings are burnt out right now. There's not a ton of sacral beings that are like completely lit up, completely free. They're following their responses. A lot of sacrals around us are unhealthy. They have been forced to do work that it doesn't truly light them up. They've been forced to work on someone else's schedule and not get to live in a true state of response as a sovereign being. So a lot of generators, when they see a projector laying down, it actually triggers them if that generator is in a state of burnout. And then they'll say, how come you're resting? I'm tired too. And that's valid for that sacral being. If they are burnt out and they're not living in alignment, their experience is valid and they need to go on their journey of fixing that and living more in a state of response. But for you as the projector listening, it's important to know that that's also not your problem to manage right now in this moment. It's your job to rest and to be so down for like taking care of yourself, like so up for taking care of yourself that it doesn't bother you to have that other person's misalignment triggered by you taking care of yourself and being in alignment. So I wanted to highlight that because I feel like there's this battle, like all the time. If I'm resting or laying down to this day, I still get shit from my brother who walks by. Like, oh, must be nice to lay down and rest. He has no idea how tired I am as a projector and him being a manifesting generator. And if he's feeling burnt out because he's in a state of misalignment and not listening to his sacral, but he's also not ready for me to help guide him, that's not my problem. So all of those dynamics to navigate are a lot. Sometimes it feels like you as the projector are still the one taking the heat, even though you have the least energy out of everyone in this circumstance. And so knowing that is the big thing, like giving yourself credit for it. Why does this feel so uncomfortable? Why do I feel like I need to hide when I'm laying down and working on my computer or when I'm taking a nap? Why do I hear so many generators in my life still telling me that they're tired when I feel like they don't even recognize that I'm tired on a different level than them? That's a lot of dynamics to hold. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming and it can make you feel really bitter. But the more that you understand that you taking care of yourself, if it triggers other people, it's meant to. And that is not your problem to fix. It's not your issue to avoid. You showing up for yourself and resting is a huge act of rebellion that is helping to correct the problems that need to be corrected in the collective. And it's also the boundary that you need to hold so that you have enough energy to focus on your fascinations and to show up in your sacred purpose as a guide.
Damn. Mic drop that shit, because that I feel like everybody on the planet needs to hear. And, you know, we will do a pep talk for generators and man-gens. So all of the ways that they can come into their alignment and all of that, we're going to get into that on another episode. So we're not hating on you, generators and man-gens. We love you and we have a pep talk coming your way. So stay tuned. But I will say that obviously being a parent and all of that is hard because other people depend on you. And we're definitely not saying put yourself above other people, but we are saying take care of yourself. And when you can rest without the guilt and without the guilt of other people. And a lot of times I think as parents, we've done all of the work to like get our child in daycare or like get them working on this project or like get them in a safe environment in their home where they can't get hurt in this space, or getting childcare at home, like having them with family and friends, like, right. We've done all of this work to set up these systems that support us. And then when it's like finally time to rest and put our feet up, that's when like either our partner can judge us or our parent can judge us, or we can judge ourselves and not actually utilize the rest that we're meant to. Even though we went through all of this work and insight to build it to support ourselves, we don't then truly take advantage of it to let our energy rest. So just a reminder, rest, bitch. Okay. So then let's talk about, this leads really well into the hard truth of facing your bitterness, because while this is a pep talk, I guess the pep side of it is like, you're going to be bitter. You're going to be bitter and you got to own it. And it's hard pill to swallow because you're seeing all the things, you're seeing all the layers, and bitterness is tricky because you're bitter because it's true, or you're bitter because you see the things and you're like, I was right and they were wrong, or like, I am more tired than them because I'm a projector and they're not, and I'm fucking bitter that they're even complaining because they don't even know what it's like for me, right? That bitterness is true, and you're out of alignment. You're out of alignment. Your bitterness is always the signpost that something is out of alignment. So means oftentimes when you're bitter, it means you need more rest. Oftentimes when you're bitter, it's because you have been all up in somebody else's circus and it's not yours to be up in. A lot of times when you're bitter, it's because you're not focusing on yourself. And sometimes when you're bitter, it's because you need to wear the hat. But I think most of the time it's the circus, or it's like you're not actually focusing on your fascinations and you're not rested.
Yeah.
So
it's hard with
coming
bitterness.
to face to own your bitterness, that takes a little bit of work.
And I feel like if you can be brave enough to meet your shadows and to become friends with your not self theme, you are doing the healing work. And that's so important because I feel like in the realm of self-improvement, in the realm of spirituality, we feel like the goal is to be like lighter and feeling better all the time. And that's actually not true. The people that are the most aligned are the people who are willing to face the shadows, the not self, the bitterness that pops up in their lives as a checkpoint, something to get curious about, something to lean into. And obviously, it's easier to run away from the bitterness that you feel and to stifle it and to try not to feel it and to try to just focus on creating more success instead of facing the points of contention in your life that are causing bitterness. So if you're willing to become friends with your bitterness and know it well, you are doing so good. Like, I just want to give you so much credit and give you a hug. The people that are the most light and the most joyful and the most full of love are the people who have faced and integrated and become friends with their shadow, right? That is true. And it can feel counterintuitive, but the more that you can become friends with your not self, the more you're going to be able to navigate towards your signature theme of success. And with bitterness specifically, it's a really interesting not self theme. Obviously for manifestors, they feel anger as their not self theme. For generators, manifesting generators, they feel frustration as their not self theme. And those energies are much more like an internal bottled up energy, an internal bottled up energy that comes out, and it's very like present moment, and it's coming from within their physical vessel or within their energy body. Now, as a projector, your not self theme of bitterness, it oftentimes has a story about the other people in your life. Like, it's like, well, in comparison to what I'm doing, my partner is doing less and they have more energy and I'm holding more. And so there's this feeling of it feeling unfair and there being an automatic story about someone else. And it can really feel like it's that person or your relationship dynamic that's causing the bitterness. And the story that you are naturally associating in that circumstance, like Shayna was saying, it can be actually a true experience. Like some of that is happening or a lot of it is happening. But if you allow yourself to sit in that story and to feel like this situation is unfair and it's about the other person and you are disempowered to change any of it because you can't change them, that is going to keep you stuck in your bitterness. It's going to drain your energy and it's going to cost you your alignment and your success. So ultimately, it does not serve you to keep that story and to be like, this is unfair and to fortify that. And for me, unfair is the best word that I feel for me to recognize bitterness. Like when I catch myself feeling like it's unfair that I just did all of this work and now I'm cooking dinner, or it's unfair that I've had to carry this mental load about all of these different things, and all my husband had to do was what I asked him to do, and I had to orchestrate it and think of everything. And like, bitterness can be actually elusive for me sometimes to catch, but I will definitely be able to recognize when I have this story about why it's unfair and I got the shit end of the stick, or I'm doing more and they don't recognize it. And that's when I can really catch myself and say, okay, I see this bitterness. I see that this is my not self theme, my check engine light. And instead of allowing myself to get carried away in the story of the other person and what I wish they would do, or what I wish they would see, or how I wish things were different, instead I'm going to come back to what I can do to move away from this not self theme. And that is usually that I just need to rest, bitch. That is actually like my number one thing. Like, I just need to put on the hat for me, not my circus, not my monkeys, and rest. So I guess that's actually all three of the things that I end up doing, all three of those boundary tools. And that helps me take a break from the story.
And I think it's not, spiritually bypassing it, right? Like, if it's a real thing, it's just like, are the foundational pillars there to support you to navigate through this thing without bitterness leading the way, but instead letting your authority and your authenticity lead the way. And like, okay, so a lot of times it is, you need rest, and you need to make sure you're not wrapped up in not my circus, not my monkeys. And then you need to come back to your fascinations and use your authority to navigate this thing versus the stories and the bitterness like you're talking about. And that's challenging to do, right? It's like the biggest thing that I'm navigating right now. And it's just reminding yourself like, okay, this is bitterness. This is my check engine light. I'm going to focus on resting. I'm going to focus on using my authority, and I'm going to focus on myself versus getting so wrapped up in the other and their journey, coming back into myself. And that's so tricky to do as a projector. So the last thing that we want to add here, well, there's a few other things, but I want to just kind of remind you that your self theme is success, which is fucking amazing. Like, I feel like I'm biased, but out of all of the self themes, it's the best one.
I was gonna say,
because
you're born with it.
We're designed for it.
Are you born with it?
It sounds the most exciting.
Yeah, honestly, I was gonna say that I've had some talks with generator friends recently. Generators are man gens. And they come to this realization that they've been chasing success as their goal in life. And that actually success is not really their signature self-theme. Their self-theme is satisfaction. And it's been a light bulb moment for them to realize that they are not built to experience success as a natural byproduct of their alignment. They're meant to experience satisfaction, and that they've been comparing their journey to me as a projector. So this is like the one place that I want to say the world sort of tells the story that everyone should strive for success. And that's actually not true for all the other types. And as a projector, you don't even need to strive for success. You are built for it. You are designed for it. It is a byproduct of who you are. And like Shayna was saying, that is something that it is like the most beautiful gift at the end of the rainbow of the journey of being a projector, is that you are someone who is designed for success, and your aura that is penetrating and focused and dives into the other person. There's another energy that you could use to describe that projector aura. And that is that you have this natural pull for people to recognize you, for you to be sparkly, for you to stand out. That recipe for success of needing to be recognized to get there is actually built into your aura if you just have the correct energy boundaries and you're not trying to force yourself in spaces where you're not invited, or leak your energy when you don't have the energy to give. If you can do all of that stuff, you are built for success. And I hope that if you're listening to this, you've felt those glimmers of times where things just worked out for you. And I always feel like the fact that projectors are designed to be so efficient, like projectors can always see, even if it's something like going on a weekend trip with friends, you're orchestrating and seeing ahead all of the things that, okay, well, we're going to need to make this reservation and we're going to need to plan this thing. And you can orchestrate and see all of the chessboard pieces so that the trip feels so successful. And even in those little tiny examples of finding success, just giving yourself credit for the fact that you have the tools and the ability to see how to make things in life better, how to make them more efficient. You are literally the cosmic hype girl or cosmic cheerleader of life. And that is such a beautiful gift.
Yeah, I think that it's so fascinating that projectors are so obsessed with success, like whether they realize it or not. Just hearing like you are built for success, I think heals something in projectors of, because it is that catch-22 of like, I want to be successful, but how? Because I've never seen it modeled in a way that would work for me realistically, sustainably. And we're really fleshing that out. Projectors are new. And we talk about that. If you haven't listened to our projector versus manifestor leadership energy in the new paradigm episode, we talk about how new projectors are and why they've come in and where they're headed. But knowing that you are rewriting the script on how success can look in this new paradigm and in a way that serves us as individuals, including the ones of us who do not have a sacral engine guiding the way. So just kind of knowing, okay, this is awesome. I am built for success. And I love that reframe that the other types like generators and mangens are striving for satisfaction. And while they might have success, they might have very successful things. A lot of them do. If they're not satisfied with the success that they've had and the projects that they worked on, then it's not alignment for them. And same goes with manifestors and their peace, right? And reflectors and that surprise. Everyone might have success. Everyone might be surprised with life. Everyone might feel satisfied with life or feel peace with life. But when we're looking at our self themes, it's like this healing frequency that is just, once again, that little ping or that glimmer, that signpost of alignment, and how freaking cool and exciting that ours is success. So shifting gears just a little bit, I want to just talk about the world at large right now and being a projector in this paradigm shift, being a projector in navigating the world over the last, several hundred years, but mostly, the last 20 years as information has been coming at us at full speed and navigating this shift and this change. Like, the world feels chaotic right now and systems are crumbling. They're going to keep crumbling. Information overload is constant and it's going to continue to be constant. It feels fast. It feels loud. It feels reactive. And of course that feels intense for you. You're energetically sensitive. You see patterns that other people don't see. You're able to really name the architecture behind the things that are happening. You're seeing all the intricate details like Dana's talking about with planning a trip. Like, you're seeing all of the architecture behind reality and how things are weaving together and the systems at play. And that's exhausted. Of course you feel overwhelmed. And it's not because you're weak. It's because you're perceptive. And reframing your perceptivity as a strength is a huge shift as we move into this new paradigm. The old paradigm is built off of generator energy, and it's really been focused on hustle and proving and grinding and outworking other people and being loud to be seen or forcing success. And as projectors, we have tried to survive in that system, but it's left us feeling bitter. It's left us feeling exhausted. It's left us feeling actually unseen. And that's because we've been trying to play this game that isn't built for us. So knowing that we're always going to burn out trying to prove ourselves as generators and mangens, because we're calibrated more for depth and perceptivity and wisdom and seeing the deeper layers. Like that is what we are built to do. We're not built to run and hustle and prove and push and shove and go, generate. That's always going to lead to burnout. So hopefully hearing that for me, it was like this breath of like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I just literally chose to be born in a time that was not built for me. And that's fucking makes me bitter, but also makes me like feel recognized, which heals a little bit of my bitterness.
Yeah. And it's important to know that as a projector, the fact that you don't have consistent energy levels is absolutely part of your design that empowers you to become a leader of the new paradigm. And what I mean by that, we're moving away from the Industrial Revolution and people overworking in the cross of planning. And like I was mentioning with rest, so many sacral beings are out of alignment because they've been forced to work in this patriarchal capitalistic society. Now, projectors come in as this sacred disruptor. They do not have the energy to force themselves to fit into this old pattern the way that a sacral being would. And not only does this support you as a projector, not having that loud sacral engine in your body, it helps you see more clearly without distraction. It helps you see more deeply, but it also helps you see how things have to change in order to be more efficient and to give people their agency back on their energy use. So all of the challenges of like, I think back to elementary school and being in the first grade and having to get up really early in the winter when it's dark outside and go to school for like the fourth day of the school week. And I just remember my little 6-year-old spirit being crushed and being like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I can't sit in that classroom. And then after school, needing to play with friends and do my homework and do my chores. And I just remember feeling, even as such a small child, like this can't be what life is about. It's too exhausting. And feeling unseen in that, feeling like an alien in a world where everyone else was just keeping up. And while that is like my sad story of my bitterness in my life, it's also the ammunition that makes me excited to build a better world for everyone. It's what qualifies me to understand how the changes that we need to make so that everyone can be freed from those confinements and those structures that override our individual authority. So as a projector, it's like you're hypersensitive to all of it because you weren't able to just put on the hat and go through the motions the way other people were. You felt it all. You saw it all. You were the alien in a world that wasn't built for you for all of these years until this new paradigm shift. And that is your spiritual gift, the experiential wisdom that is going to help you be the guide that you're meant to be. And now that we're moving finally into the new paradigm 2027, all of these old structures crumbling, projectors are finally here up to bat. It is finally our time where people are going to start looking for the depth instead of the productivity, right? Because the productivity and the Industrial Revolution and the corporations, all of it is crumbling, and people are going to be looking finally for advice, for guidance. This is what projectors are here for. So I hope that every projector listening, it can feel like, why was I born in this time where I'm transitioning these two worlds and I had to experience living in a world that wasn't built for my energy? But when you understand this timeline, you see that it's part of your greatest gift. That experiential wisdom is going to be the power source that helps you be the guide that you're meant to be.
Yeah. And talking about the new paradigm and what that's really going to be focusing on is mainly alignment over performance and wisdom instead of output and forcing and creating and building, right? That alignment piece, that insight piece. And because you see the systems, you can guide people's energy, you can read people, you can see the inefficiencies, you know how to make these shifts. All the projectors that are here now, there's more and more being born, every single day. And over the last 20 years, I feel like there's been more and more being born. And that's to help us be the ones that see the shift, see the things that can be tweaked, see the inefficiencies, see the systems that need to break down. And that's a big part of what's helping make this change to begin with. Now, there's definitely some shadows that we've been navigating. And I think that it's helpful to just validate them, because naming our shadows and naming the things that we've all been coming up against helps us, one, to feel less alone, but also to feel like we know how to navigate it because we've named it. So some of the things that you may feel in this chaotic time as a projector, you might feel invisible. You might feel powerless. You might feel bitter. You're definitely going to feel bitter. You might feel financially unstable, or like everyone else is moving ahead and it's taking you longer to get there. And there might be this fear that if you actually rest, that you'll disappear. And really reframing that resting is not disappearing, that pulling back or listening to your energy or focusing on yourself and your own fascinations is not failing other people or failing the world, that it's not this weakness to come back to yourself, but actually it's strategic, and it's also a strength, and it's also what's needed to have alignment come into this new paradigm, into this new shift, into finding your recognition. And recognition is not something you can force on the world. Like, people will recognize you when you recognize yourself, and you can't recognize yourself if you're constantly worried about if you're going to disappear or if you're moving forward, what other people are succeeding or failing in, and what other people are needing from you or not, right? You have to take your power back, and it is this internal job. Now, as we move into this new paradigm, we're coming into depth being really valued and insight being really valued. So kind of knowing that we're going to be sharing our perspectives more, we're going to be recognized more, feels like a win. Like, okay, we're getting there. But we have to validate where we've been, and maybe the things that we're still navigating, those shadows that we're still feeling, and knowing that the time is coming, right? And the last thing I just want to say here, things that you can focus on right now in this time and in this transition, is protecting your energy, like we've been talking about with resting and not guilting yourself and coming back, like putting on the hat or not being in the circus, like all of those boundaries that we talked about in the beginning. Those are really about protecting, not projecting, protecting your energy, because you are so good at giving it away by pushing it or forcing it into other people's lives or other things that you're not invited. And really focusing on those fascinations, right? Refining your genius, refining your niche, if you will. That's focusing on those fascinations. Your niche will appear when you're focused on like, oh, I'm fascinated in this, and you just kind of follow that thing. And really letting yourself go to communities or spaces where you do feel recognized. And I think that's hard, because a lot of times we can find ourselves surrounded by places where we're not recognized, but letting yourself be seen in places that you are, or that feel like are speaking to your alignment, can help you to heal the part of you that feels invisible. So being visible in aligned spaces. Now, you're going to find those aligned spaces by using your authority and by really focusing on your fascinations. You're naturally going to be drawn towards that community or that class or that, workshop or that yoga thing or whatever it is, that retreat, you're going to be naturally drawn towards that when you're focused on your fascinations and then use your authority to say yes that you want to sign up. You're going to start to be visible in aligned spaces versus trying to force yourself to be visible in spaces that aren't aligned. And that's always going to lead to bitterness and draining your energy. And I cannot tell you how many times still constantly where I'm like, oh, I'm trying to be visible in this place and it's just not an aligned space for me to be visible. Like, it's not the time. I'm not invited. And there's no recognition here. Like, that's okay. I don't need to be mad about that because I have other places in my life where I am visible and is so aligned for me. And I only got there because of using my strategy and authority and because of resting and because of checking my bitterness and because of following my fascinations. So just kind of like planting the seed with you that you are meant to be seen as a projector. And if you're feeling that shadow there of feeling invisible, of not being recognized in your life or in your relationships, that is painful and that is because you are meant to be seen. So do all those things, find those aligned spaces because it's so worth it and it's so meant for you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that as a projector myself and Shayna as a projector herself, it's a really interesting thing actually for us to even create projector content. Like I feel like it's almost easier for me to create content for all of the other types. And then projectors, I'm like drawing a blank, having a blind spot because we are designed to have a blind spot when it comes to seeing ourselves. So that's why we felt so excited to do this podcast episode and to give you, all of the projectors listening, this recognition, this understanding of the struggles you go through, these tools that can really help you get unstuck and feel like you're filling up your own cup, bringing back your energy into your own realm instead of pushing it or forcing it or depleting it into the other. And, I just wanted to say that when it comes to the projector women in my life, I'm blessed to have a lot of these really powerful, wise, incredible projector women in my life that are my friends. And when I see them walk into a room, I see their essence just like sparkling and people's heads do turn towards them. And the things that they say to like the waiter at the table, the way that they give the waiter recognition and like ask them a question about how do you like working here? I just see that waiter or, we're just at like lunch, but that person that is receiving that recognition, they feel suddenly guided and held and seen. And so these projector women in my life, I can just see how much they radiate this magnetism for people to be drawn to them as leaders and guides. And it's really interesting because I can see that so clearly in these other projectors. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to seeing that in myself, it can be so hard. I feel so invisible sometimes, especially when I'm not doing all of these practices that you just talked about. And, there are spaces where I'm truly recognized. And when I pour my energy and my focus into those spaces, I feel that level of success and I feel that recognition. But I just wanted to highlight that if you're a projector and you're struggling to see yourself, I would invite you to find that projector friend in your life that you can recognize, that you can see so clearly, and to see that mirrored in yourself. Or even as Shayna and I being two projectors, like knowing that as projectors, we are here to see each other and fill each other up and remind each other, yes, you're here to be a guide, but you have a really special energy. You have a really special path. You chose to be born in a really special energetic form at a really special time. And I hope that you can take all of that in this moment and see yourself in this conversation and to celebrate yourself in this conversation and to know that the fact that you chose a somewhat challenging energy to have in a time of great transition tells you that your soul came here to do some cool shit. Like you did not come here to just ride the fence or to have a boring incarnation. You came here
wear the hat.
Yeah, you came here to really sparkle and shine. And anytime you're feeling like, oh, it would just be easier to have some other energy or to be born at some other time, I hope that you can come back to this feeling of really like seeing your own sparkle in perhaps the other projectors in your life that you can see it so effortlessly in.
Yes. So if you are feeling like you want that aligned space or that community that really sees you, this is your invitation to join us at a future retreat or to join us in our besties community where we meet every month. It's such an incredible space to be in where everybody's using their strategy and authority to be there. So if you're feeling that call, use your strategy and authority, because if you show up at a retreat just because of your mind desperately wanting to be seen in a aligned space, it won't be aligned if you didn't use your strategy and authority. So use your strategy and authority. And if it's saying yes, we would love to see you in besties. You are invited. This is your invitation. We would love to witness you and just see you deeply, because that is what we're here to do. We can't help but see you. And everyone in our community really is just so incredibly lit up by human design and so willing to go deep fast. And it's incredible to see. So stay tuned for future retreats if you're wanting to gather in person, and you can check out your human design besties below. And yeah, the other thing I want to say, follow your fascinations.
Yes.
Take the course, take the workshop, take the class, read the book, like whatever those things are. It doesn't have to be human design, but you are worth it to dive into those fascinations. And there's so many different resources out there. There's so many different guides teaching right now that you can spark and absorb and learn. I'm constantly like, okay, I want to go take that class. I want to go do this workshop. I want to learn from this guide because they've sparked my fascination. And every time I do that, it pulls me out of my bitterness. It pulls me back into my own zone of genius, because when I'm taking that class, when I'm taking that workshop, I'm weaving together all of the different insights. I'm seeing the layers at play and how they come together, and it ultimately feeds into my own magnetism and my own success. So just kind of knowing, planting the seed, find the people, that the guides that you love, take their courses, take their classes, just for the sake of it's fascinating for you, and you will see how much you get out of it. And I'm just like grateful that we are all projectors, hopefully listening, but also if you're supporting a projector and you're listening to this, I'm grateful for you, because this is so needed to understand as we are shifting paradigms and as we are creating a better, hopefully more supportive, more connected, more depth-filled existence.
Yeah. So projectors that are listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the work to really live out your soul's trajectory. We, out of anyone, get you. We see you. We know the struggle with being a non-energy type. And it's worth it, because this is your time to shine. The world is changing. You are going to get more recognition as we move into the new paradigm. If you have good boundaries, you're following your strategy and authority, and you're following what fascinates you. And that will lead you to the systems that you're here to master, the things that you're here to teach, the advice that you're here to give. So we see you, we love you, we appreciate you, and we are sending you the biggest love hug and the permission slip, if you needed one, to rest after this, to lay down vertically, to not do the chores, rest, to do bitch. It tomorrow. Rest, bitch, is the theme, the mantra for the rest of the day. Rest, bitch, we love you.
Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.